Welcome to the Miller Report, Real Clear Journalism. I'm Maggie Miller. A newly released CIA review is raising serious questions about the integrity of the U.S. intelligence community during the height of the Russiagate investigation, and it directly contradicts sworn testimony from several top Obama-era officials. According to internal CIA documents obtained by RealClear Investigations and Paul Sperry's latest investigation, the now discredited Steele Dossier, compiled by a former British operative and funded by political appointments of Donald Trump, was in fact used to support one of the most consequential intelligence assessments in recent history. That assessment, issued just before President Trump took office in January 2017, concluded that Vladimir Putin interfered in the election specifically to help Trump win. And now we know the dossier's unverified allegations were cited as one of the four key supporting pieces for that conclusion. This directly conflicts with what former CIA Director John Brennan, former DNI James Clapper, and others told Congress under oath, each claiming that the dossier played no role in shaping the report. But the CIA's internal review tells a different story. Senior analysts within the agency reportedly warned against including the dossier, fearing that it would compromise the report's credibility. Those warnings were overruled, allegedly, at Brennan's insistence. This revelation adds to a growing body of evidence suggesting that the Steele dossier had far more influence on U.S. intelligence and public perception than top officials have admitted. The implications? This could include potential perjury by some of the nation's highest-ranking intelligence leaders and a deeper look into how partisan politics may have shaped an explosive investigation in American history. We're joined now by lead investigator on this story, Paul Sperry. Paul, thank you so much for being here.
Great to be with you.
So the Steele dossier was criticized from the beginning. Seeing now that it did have a direct role in the assessment that pointed to Russian interference, what does this change within the Russiagate narrative?
Well, John Brennan, it turns out that he actually slipped the Hillary's dirty dossier into the actual text of that intelligence assessment on Russia. And then he turned around and lied about it to Congress repeatedly. And he thought he could get away with it because he classified it at such a high level that even Congress couldn't see it, that section. But now he's under federal investigation by DOJ and FBI, along with James Comey, the former FBI director. And we found some of the testimony that they gave, false testimony that they gave back in 2020 and 2023. And those dates are important, those years, because they fall within the 5-year statute of limitation for perjury. So these are fully prosecutable offenses if they pan out.
So what would you say may come from the potential misconduct from those officials like Brennan, Clapper, Comey with those sworn testimonies? Do we see this coming to light? Do we see people actively pursuing this?
There's definitely a criminal referral from the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, who put out this CIA review. It's an 8-page review that really started all of this, and found out through a number of emails that John Brennan was fibbing big time. And so he referred that for criminal investigation to the Justice Department, and that actually has happened. And the FBI has it and is actively investigating not only Brennan, but James Comey, as we understand. We also understand from our reporting that they're looking at this DOJ as also a conspiracy case, conspiracy to commit perjury, conspiracy to obstruct justice, which is a much broader case. And the statute of limitations does not apply to such conspiracy cases.
So how did the Steele dossier really permeate within the intelligence apparatus? And then, many said that Russiagate was a political witch hunt when it came out, but how did these new findings undermine the narrative of neutrality that is expected from within our intelligence community?
Yeah, so it looks like from what they found in this CIA review that they really did cook up this intelligence, and it was led by Brennan. Now, the ICA stands for the Intelligence Community Assessment, and this is something that President Obama ordered back in 2016, within weeks of Trump, his surprise upset victory over Hillary Clinton. And the main conclusion is basically that Putin basically installed Trump as president. And that just happens to echo the allegations in the dossier, which were bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton's campaign, which is pretty outrageous that they would dress that dossier up as intelligence and put it into this major assessment. But that's what they did. They knew it was opposition research, and yet they included it not just as a sidebar, but in the actual main body of the, that's what we're finding out. It's in the main body of the classified version of the ICA. And that's just outrageous because they knew it was a Hillary Clinton opposition research smear at the time that they were manufacturing this intelligence.
I mean, it's interesting because obviously within your piece, you're noting that there were arguments that, oh, it was just a footnote, but it had no standing in our investigation and in our findings. And now to see that not only was it not a footnote, but that it did have a major role is definitely interesting. And it's going to be interesting to see how that moves forward.
Absolutely. And that was a mantra on the part of Clapper, McCabe, Comey, Brennan, and all of these appearances before Congress. And also they misled John Durham's the special counsel's investigation. They told him that no, it was never inside the assessment. And now we know that it was a part of the main body of the assessment. And then we also found out that John Brennan is caught in some other whoppers, whereby he said that he had nothing to do with the dossier when he at the time. And so we found a transcript of a closed door deposition he gave to the House Judiciary Committee. This is back in 2023, which is within the statute of limitations. Quote, I was not involved in analyzing the dossier at all. The first time I actually saw it was after the election, and CIA was not involved at all with the dossier. But now we know from these emails that were released from the CIA report that in fact there were emails from Brennan himself where he says, hey, the bottom line is I want this dossier included. So there's all sorts of smoking guns that contradict all of this spin and these statements that they gave under oath, raised their right hand in all these cases. And but you know, we're starting to see some accountability because they have been held to a different standard for a number of years, because all of Trump's people were, well, a lot of them were prosecuted and went to jail for perjury, including false statements to Congress. So this has happened in the past in high profile cases. And yet these guys have skated for what we're going on 9 years now. And so it's a little refreshing that they're finally maybe held to account, but we will see what actually happens. And we're doing a follow-up on this story because there's a 200-page document that has been locked up in a vault all this time, probably back to 2018, that reveals even worse details than anything in the CIA review. And we're going to reveal some of those details about how Brennan and company, his crew, manipulated and even falsified some of these conclusions that were in that assessment. So wow, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, that seems like it's just going to continue to add fuel to this story that some people might have thought might have been, as you said, 8-9 years in the past and haven't really thought about, but it seems like it's very much, you know, blowing up a little bit right now.
This is what you call a delayed fuse on this scandal. Part of the reason is because the legacy media is so invested in the original narrative, which was Trump was compromised by the Kremlin, you know, the whole Russiagate, Russia thing. And they won Pulitzers. They won Pulitzers, the Washington Post, New York Times for this. And they mentioned the ICA as backup to their stories, which we're now finding out the ICA was largely a fraud. And so they are part of the cover-up right now. They don't want this to come out. And so it's a constant pushing past the main media. They've been blocking this.
Well, I mean, obviously, you're not being deterred. Is there anything you'd like to leave people with regards to your investigation?
Well, I think that what people understand is this is probably one of the worst political scandals in our history, because we knew that they laundered Hillary's dirty dossier through the FISA wiretap court to spy on Trump. We've already established that through the Inspector General of the Justice Department in the Durham report. But now we're finding out that they laundered the dossier through the intelligence services to try to frame Trump as this Putin stooge who's controlled by Russia. And that is a huge scandal, that they would frame him and then create this pretext for endless investigations of him that really hamstrung, dogged his first term. And quite frankly, there's still a cloud over him. People are still, especially in Washington, doubting any motives he has in terms of any type of foreign policy related to Russia. So this is still a major issue.
It definitely is. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maggie.
That was it for the Miller Report, Real Clear Journalism. I'm Maggie Miller. I'll see you next time.